Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're literally popping the hood on Python to see exactly how its core engine powers, well, a massive global ecosystem. Whether you're just throwing together a quick script or architecting a massive machine learning model, really understanding the mechanics of this language is going to give you a serious edge. We're going to break down the actual gears turning behind your code. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with Python's core philosophy, then look at memory management under the hood. After that, we hit built-in data structures, the standard library, and Python's massive ecosystem. Finally, we'll wrap up by looking at what's next in Python.
Section 1. Python's core philosophy.
So, Python was fundamentally designed to bridge that gap between total beginners and seasoned experts. And the absolute foundation of that accessibility? It's dynamic typing and late binding. Instead of forcing you to write out all these rigid type declarations up front, which, let's be honest, can slow you down, Python dynamically resolves variable and method names right during execution. It's totally seamless. This means you get to write rapid, flexible code and focus on the actual problem you're trying to solve, rather than wrestling with strict syntax rules. It's a real game changer for developer speed.
Section 2. Memory management under the hood.
Now, with all of that dynamic flexibility we just talked about, comes the need for some seriously clever resource management behind the scenes. Otherwise, the system would just get overwhelmed. Python handles this using garbage collection. Specifically, it uses a cycle-detecting garbage collector. Basically, it's this automatic background process that constantly tracks and reclaims memory occupied by objects you're no longer using. It automatically prevents memory leaks. So, the programmer, you, doesn't have to manually allocate and free up memory. Python is doing all that heavy lifting for you.
So, the crucial point is exactly how this operates, and it relies heavily on something called reference counting. It works in 3 simple mechanical steps. First, the interpreter actively tracks your object references. Every single time an object is referenced, a little internal counter ticks up. Second, it's always watching to detect when that reference count drops to 0. When it hits 0, it means absolutely nothing in your code is using that object anymore. And third, it automatically reclaims the freed memory. Boom, just like that. It's a highly efficient, ongoing background process, keeping your applications running perfectly smooth.
Section 3. Built-in data structures.
Shifting gears a bit, let's look at how data itself is strictly organized. Python draws a hard boundary between immutable and mutable objects. Immutable sequences absolutely cannot change once they're created. Think about numeric objects, like a 64-bit double-precision floating point number or complex numbers. Those are completely immutable. Once they're set, their value is locked in forever. On the flip side, we have mutable sequences, like your standard lists. These guys allow for in-place modifications, meaning you can dynamically change them throughout your program's execution.
Here's another really brilliant design choice. Python utilizes arbitrary precision arithmetic for all integer operations. What does that actually mean for you? Well, alongside modules like decimal, which handles predefined arbitrary precision floating point numbers, and fraction for rational numbers, it makes Python incredibly robust. You literally don't have to worry about quietly losing data to integer overflow. It's exactly why Python is just so reliable for everything from basic math up to high-precision scientific calculations.
Section 4. The standard library.
Okay, moving outwards to the macro scale, let's talk about Python's famous batteries-included philosophy. When you install Python, you aren't just getting the core language, you're getting a massive out-of-the-box toolkit. Just look at this breakdown. Need to parse some file formats? You've got modules like CSV, config parser, and tomlib instantly available. Building something that needs to be secure? Hashlib and secrets are right there for immediate cryptographic services. Or maybe you need to interact with the operating system itself. The OS, I/O, and time modules are ready to go. You get all this incredibly powerful functionality without downloading a single external package.
Section 5. A massive ecosystem.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an absolutely massive global ecosystem. Python essentially acts as the foundational glue here. For web development, frameworks like Django, Flask, and FastAPI are the absolute industry standard. Over in AI and machine learning, you've got heavy hitters like PyTorch, TensorFlow, and scikit-learn dominating this space. But let's say you want to tackle a quick mini project focused on data. This ecosystem is unparalleled for that. You can literally just use import pandas as PD and import numpy as NP to handle all your data cleaning and analysis. Then, for the visual side, you just pull in import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT and import seaborn as SNS to create some truly stunning visualizations. The way Python makes building that entire pipeline so fluid is just awesome.
Section 6.
What's next in Python?
So, you might be wondering, what happens when a language this massive actually gets an upgrade? Python is constantly evolving, and the horizon is looking super exciting. Let's start by taking a look at Python 3.13, which is the next major step up for developer quality of life. Python 3.13 brings in some really fantastic usability features. For instance, and a lot of developers are going to love this, you now get colored tracebacks in the terminal by default. You can even control them using the new Python colors environment variable. It also brings vastly improved error messages, specifically for when you accidentally create a script named conflict with a standard library module. We've all been there, it's a super common mistake. Plus, the language continues to shed dead weight by finalizing the removal of the old legacy PEP 594 standard library modules. It's all about keeping the language modern, clean, and extremely user-friendly.
But let's look slightly further over the horizon. What's coming in version 3.14?
Well, 3.14 is gearing up to be a massive architectural evolution. For those of you using Docker, official Python 3.14 images will introduce free threaded variants alongside the regular builds. This is huge. Major frameworks like Django, Flask, FastAPI, and scientific stacks like NumPy and pandas are already preparing for these free threaded builds as we speak. It's a monumental shift. It's going to allow Python code to run with far more concurrency and speed than we've ever seen before, which is going to dramatically change how we approach scaling applications. So, we've gone from the dynamic typing of Python's core philosophy through its automatic memory management, checked out the standard library, and looked all the way ahead to a future of free-threaded performance. With an ever-growing ecosystem and a much faster interpreter on the horizon, what will you build next? Take this knowledge, maybe spin up a new data project, and just start experimenting. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.